Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Dodger here. Welcome back to the Mindcrack server for the 85th time, I believe. I'll feel confident about one of those numbers someday. But today we are working on the farm here in the Cone Abode territory. I guess is what I'm calling this. On Wednesday we had our first collab episode with Brian, starting the river connection project. Still primarily unnamed there. I don't exactly know what to call it, nor has anybody really had any ideas that sounded great. It's just the way it is that the two of our names don't merge together into any very funny or clever singular word, like, I don't know, guano. But I am looking forward to doing those collab videos every week. I'm also looking forward to saying thanks, Alan, for your support on Patreon. I don't know what to call it, but I'm excited for it. That episode was particularly work heavy, really planning heavy, I suppose. But in the future, that's going to be a lot more talky heavy than it is worky heavy. Lots of plans in place there. Yep, I did some work off camera. I was letting your brains try to figure out what you're seeing here. I've started the farm aqueduct. So what I wanted to do there was kind of inspiration from an old Zisto project. You remember his sky base on season 3, I believe, where he had a single water source that fed an entire farm system? His was wild and crazy and, well, honestly, it was Zistonian, and yeah, it was just massive and crazy. But I wanted to kind of draw some inspiration from that theme because I really loved that build, and do the water source thing. Use a single water source to feed an entire farm. So I've done basically that. I have a single water source that is feeding... Oh, can I not actually climb this? I thought I could climb this. That is feeding down to here and will eventually saturate this entire place. Let me jump up around here and I'll show you how that's going. That part of it isn't exactly done yet. I gotta think of some ideas yet. I gotta think of some ideas yet for how I'm going to kind of not hide, but showcase the water source as it comes down the mountain here. So this water actually comes from a natural water source, this water pool up here. And if you don't know, water in Minecraft, it's infinite, but water sources can only travel so many blocks. So every, I believe, 8 blocks, it has to go down 1 level, and it just keeps doing that, which means that that water just keeps on going as the same water source all the way down the mountain through here. I think you can see, yeah, here's a drop right here. So it would stop here, so you drop it a block and it starts all over again with the same momentum and the same amount of water and everything. It's a pretty cool mechanic, I believe. I really like the way water works in Minecraft. But so that water goes all the way down the mountain. I've kind of got this temporary rigging here to keep the water contained. But over yonder, I've been working on a bit of a cooler design over here, and this I ended up really liking. It's a bit mechanical looking, but yeah, I think it's pretty cool. I think it's a pretty cool look for the aqueduct system as it gets down to here. I'm not so sure about this section yet. I think I need to think on that a little bit more. Maybe draw some inspiration from you guys on what to do with that. Should it be exposed? Should it be closed in? Should it be, like, covered in glass, maybe? Should it just be open to the air? Should I try and just work in this theme? A lot of different ways I could go with it, but I'm just not quite sure yet. I know what I want to do, though, is these 2 sources are going to hydrate as many grass blocks down here as possible. I don't know how many that's going to be, but if you notice, this is the highest point of the plane here. And I have the water coming down here, so it can meander through this and hydrate as many blocks as possible. And then it'll step down to this one, and it'll hydrate as many blocks. And then it'll step down to this one and hydrate as many blocks. The way I want to do it is, there's a fish here, is kind of let the water decide where the farms are going to be. I don't want this to be completely farmland. I would like for there to be walking paths through here and whatnot, and just kind of use the terrain a bit more to dictate where the crops are going to be. So we'll see how that looks in the end. I do, however, want to replace the stone here with dirt, because, yeah, there's not a lot of reason for the stone to be here, and it's just kind of taking away from our available farmland. But I want to try and keep the same basic profile as we go here. So I'm going to outline it, and then the inside I can replace with dirt. Willy-nilly. Yeah, like I was saying, the Wednesday episodes with Brian, that one was kind of heavily structured into figuring out the plan, but I do look forward to having many interesting conversations with Brian on the Wednesday videos. I gotta find a better day to be recording those. We did that on Wednesday, Tuesday night actually. Tuesday night after the BeamNG automation stream. That's a particularly difficult stream for me, and it's not difficult like I don't enjoy it, because it's probably the most enjoyable stream setup I've ever done. It's just a lot of work, and it's a lot of on time. I know there's a bunch of people out there that stream many hours a day. Justin streams in 12-hour blocks and then takes an hour break and streams in 10-hour blocks all the time. I unfortunately physically can't do that, and mentally can't really do that. I can't keep my brain on for that long without kind of degrading in the ability to either carry a conversation or I don't even want to say be entertaining, but just, you know, be able to properly get through my thoughts, essentially. I just can't speak for that long and not have my brain not really turn off, but just not be able to think clearly. But also the physical restraints of the whole voice situation becomes an issue too. And I paid for the price for it, because Wednesday after that, after doing the stream and then that recording, and then staying on with that stream team as they were playing PUBG, it took its toll on me. And most of Wednesday I was pretty unable to speak, and I'm still basically getting over that now. Even, you know, it's Friday now that I'm recording this. The stream yesterday, I kind of ended up doing a little bit of a shorter stream even for me, because I could just tell it wasn't going to work out. It's also a rough time of year, whenever the weather changes a bunch and things start to dry out, and things start to dry out physically. It's difficult. Interestingly, had a random conversation. I don't know if I want to go into like super big details of this, because it was a conversation had between me and somebody streaming, and somebody, you know, part of the greater community, Vedran, started to talk a bit about her own voice struggles. And it was really interesting, because it was honestly the first case I've ever had of somebody that kind of had the same background with that. Hold on, let's say thanks. Oops, thanks. Thanks to Bo Day. I didn't capitalize. Oh, I gotta. Yep, new signs aren't in yet. Bo Day. That's just bodacious. But yeah, I've never had a person with a similar experience to me as far as voice is concerned. I've talked about this, and honestly, I feel like Minecraft is where I usually talk about it the most. I think I've done some Cone on the Roads. No, I definitely did Cone on the Roads about it too. It's something that I didn't really find out about until pretty late into adulthood. How did I come up here? Dirt. That's what I came up here for. Yeah, I didn't find out about my. Well, let me correct myself there. I didn't realize I had an actual voice issue until my mid-late 20s. I always just kind of thought that was just me. That was just how I talked. That was, you know, part of my genetics or whatever. Thanks, Zahorts, for your patron support. Yeah, I always just kind of thought, oh, it's nighttime out here. That's what I thought. I always just thought it was me. I thought that's how my body worked. Thanks, greater underscore sky. I just thought that I was born with a voice that was weaker than others. Well, it turned out much later in my life that I discovered that I actually had basically vocal trauma from previous illness and treatment thereof. We'll get into more of that on the next Minecraft day. So yeah, Fedrin started talking about that, and she was talking about the fact that it's basically, for her, it was asthma treatment that caused damage, and then there was some other factors there too. That there's a lot more details there that you would be much better off hearing it from Fedrin than me, so I'm not going to speak for her. But in my own personal experience, basically what had happened was that throughout my childhood, I was a pretty severe asthmatic. I am still to this day asthmatic, but not nearly to the degree that I was then. And I'm not going to go super into details of this because I have talked about it multiple times before, but basically the treatment for asthma, especially when you're young, is usually, is the phrase steroidal, but basically steroids to help your lungs cope with the fact that your airways are restricted, and the steroids help to open up the airways and to strengthen the airways and help you breathe. It's pretty important. I had some pretty, we'll say, close calls and some major issues with asthma as a young child and as you know, even through grade school. I missed countless days of school because any ailment that I had became a major issue, because I guess the original sign's gonna go today, my sign, because, you know, the asthma would just multiply whatever ailments I had. It was a big deal. So I ended up, you know, with pretty intensive treatment for the asthma. I lived with an inhaler and a nebulizer for a lot of my childhood. It wasn't really known then, the effects of that stuff, and as I've discovered now, and as I've discussed with doctors as an adult, a lot of the treatment then is quite outdated now, and not used because of different side effects that stuff had. There's a multitude of things that were problems with that. I actually ended up with some bone defects as a young child in like early elementary school, and had to deal with that. And there was other things that at the time we knew about, but never really knew about. Whoops, other effects until adulthood, and really after the asthma had pretty much gone away. It seemed like, as I was, you know, starting into college or even through high school, it seemed like the asthmatic part of my life was gone, and I was just going to get to be, you know, normal for the rest of time. Doesn't appear as though that is the case. There is no normal cone dodger, unfortunately. There's probably not a normal anybody, but there's no normal conductor. I essentially have what looks like if you were to look at it, it looks like vocal trauma that a metal rock singer, or just like an opera singer, anybody that uses their voice professionally and has endured vocal trauma. Interestingly, some of my favorite musicians have had issues with that. James Hetfield, Metallica, had vocal trauma due to the pyrotechnic incident. Chris Cornell had vocal trauma due to basically the style of music that he used to sing. Especially, I may have just misplaced those. Oh well. Especially, early in Soundgarden's career. And many others have had vocal traumas in that kind of industry. Well, I don't have any background with that. I don't sing. I'm not a musician. And up until the last 5 years, never... Oh, I need more dirt. Never actually used my voice for anything, professionally. It was just something that I knew. I could always tell that I had a quote-unquote weak voice, and I would lose my voice easily. And if I got sick, things would go, south really quick there. It felt like to me, how every, well, maybe not every, but most kids go through adolescence and you go through like the vocal break phase. I never really experienced that phase. Sure, my voice changed and, your voice gets deeper and whatnot. But I don't distinctly remember the vocally break phase. And I think the reason for that is it was always there. It was always part of my life, and I never realized it until kind of recently. I had always just kind of worked around it and talked around it and didn't talk very much. I was always the shy, quiet type. All of those factors worked to basically hide that problem. I didn't realize until, the late 20s that it was a legitimate problem. There is essentially no cure for it. You could, in theory, have some of the problems surgically fixed, but the success rate of such things is extremely low because the damage is done to what is essentially a flap of skin that's also it's kind of like a tendon. It's a very, very sensitive piece of the human body that doesn't recover very well, and it also doesn't get fixed well. It doesn't respond to surgery well. It's not like I'm trying to think of something that fixed, like when you have a rotator cuff injury, surgery can pretty much fix that. It's not like that at all. It's not something that you can surgically repair and your body will then just heal. So there's options out there, and I've certainly, especially when I had, actual decent health insurance, I've talked to people about that and considered it, but nobody seemed to be in agreement that it would be worthwhile for somebody in my position or for somebody that has dealt with it for so long. And frankly, I've pretty much learned to deal with it and work around it. And it's still a problem for me, for sure. I would say it significantly affects the career that I have chosen. I cannot be on as much as others. I cannot do the 10-hour streams. I can't do the 15 videos a week. I can't do the really long recording sessions. And a lot of the times, the streaming stuff is very difficult for me because, I just have to basically instantly be on. And sometimes my voice is just not there for that. And unlike in video where I can go, whoa, 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 I have to record this later. Obviously now is not the time. You know, if I'm not on for a stream, I basically just have to work around it. And I've learned a bunch of different techniques to do that. Sometimes it's still a problem. And people that are new to the community or don't know me don't know that. And it's hard for me to not get angry at them. It's really hard. But, you know, I feel like I've gotten a lot better at dealing with it, not just physically, but mentally. It's probably one of the biggest mental hurdle things I feel like I have actually dealt with in my adult life. Should I fill this back in? Yeah, because the water's gonna be broken. So I'm frankly actually kind of proud of that fact. I'm happy that, you know, I've basically come to grips with that, and I've learned how to deal with it for the most part. And it's good, because if I hadn't, safe to say, what I do now is something I never would have been able to do. So, happy for that, but I have, you know, just I have the negative kind of relationship with everything that happened as a child. You know, it's hard to not feel like I'm bitter or angry at the treatment when the treatment caused, you know, long-lasting issues. But on the, you know, I always have to, like, flip it around and be like, well, if not for treatment, would I even be here to be complaining about it? I don't know. Probably not. So it's how I end up kind of dealing with that stuff. But it's certainly difficult. It's certainly very difficult. In speaking with an ENT doctor, I had a cone on the road where I really tried to talk about this stuff in depth, but I think it was still a little too close. It was too close to home, if you will. It was all pretty fresh, and frankly, I had a really hard time. Darn, pooping chickens. I had a really hard time with it at that point. Let's go with a thanks to Michael R. Thank you very much, Michael. Yeah, I was having a hard time at that point trying to figure out what I was doing. I had not committed to the full-time stuff at that point, and it was something I was really pushing towards, and it was all just, it was kind of a overbearing news to find out basically there's actually something physically wrong, and there's nothing really you can do about it. It was really hard for me to take at that point, because it felt like a huge blow to me ever being able to do this kind of stuff full time. And, you know, it felt like another dream that was going to be a meme, because it just wasn't going to be physically possible. But I kind of just pushed through it, persevered, and figured, you know, I had managed for years before. I've developed techniques, and now that I know what's going on, it's a little bit easier for me to develop techniques, and a little bit easier to work with it and work around it. And I'm really proud of the fact that now, years later, I feel like I have a healthier relationship with my own body. What a phrase. So for Fedrin, the situation was very, very different, and I would encourage. I don't want to encourage anybody to ever pry anybody for information about stuff like this. If somebody had approached me and said, "Hey, what's wrong with your voice? What's wrong with you?" I would have been much less willing to talk about it than I am now. So I absolutely don't want anybody to have that mentality. But when people talk about things like that, when people talk about their own, you know, I don't want to say ailments, but their own physical experiences and things like that, their own health issues or just stories. I beg of you to just listen and understand, rather than, I mean, I don't feel like people judge things like that. I think people are generally understanding, but usually what people in my position would want is not pity, but just understanding. And I think that's a big reason why it's hard for people to talk about things like this. It's hard to explain to people that you have something, you know, physically wrong with you, or, you know, even I've gone into the mental stuff too, you know, that's, it's hard to feel comfortable sharing that kind of stuff because you worry that people are going to look at you differently, or think of you differently, or only think of you for that ailment. That's a big part of it too. You don't want it to be something that defines you. And I've tried really hard for it to be something that doesn't define me, but it's something that I defined. It's something that I didn't let define me. I didn't let it conquer me. So yeah, it's an interesting, hello creeper. It's an interesting topic for sure. I'm very happy that I have the ability to talk about that kind of stuff now. Not everybody is in that position though. And it's equally important to respect people that, you know, aren't comfortable talking about that kind of stuff, or unfortunately it's still so heavy for them that talking about it makes things worse. That's certainly how things work for some people, and it's part of the way that humans are. Humans are pretty bizarre. Humans are pretty bizarre, I must say. Okay, so water. We're gonna rapidly change subjects here. Water spreads 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes, so the water would needed to have dropped earlier than that. Actually, this water needs to skate along the surface all the way to here, wouldn't it? Let me think about this. How can I get this water down to the next level? It need to be this one, and then one down. Oops, can't go 2 down because it'll dig down in. Yeah. So now that will go to here, and then I have one going this way as well. So this one can get out to here, and then it's gonna go down 1. But also, how can I get it? So yeah, I want some hydration over here. So I need to think of how can I get water out that way? Now you can do things like this, but you gotta kind of trick it. Maybe you can't split it here. I think maybe you have to split it at the source. Yeah, it's gonna go to the path of least resistance here, I think. There's also the weird directional thing where water will want to spread, I think, south and east first, or something bizarre like that. Okay, so water does want to spread this way, but only 1, because that's the 8. Alright, alright. Okay, so I gotta think of how I can get more. Oh, I know how. I know what I can do. What if we raised this some? So. Yep. So now that source is taller, and with enough encouragement, we're going to have to do some terraforming here, but it's alright. Doesn't worry me too much. With some encouragement, we should be able to get this water. Oh, I like what it just did there, actually. I like what it just did there. I'm gonna let the water kind of do its own thing in some places, but in others, try and wrangle it in a bit. Okay. Now, usually you can train the water. Am I out of dirt? I am, unfortunately. Okay, so that didn't do great. I really want something to go down from here at this height so that it I need to go grab some more dirt. Be free, water! Be free! Go to your home! Yeah, what I want is all of these to run down into this dry riverbed here and fill that up with water. So they're all going to run down into there and be spreading water. Eventually they'll connect with this one as well. Okay, so that goes in pretty deep, which means it's not going to hydrate many of these blocks, and that's totally fine. I actually really like that. I don't want it to be hydrating everything. I don't know what the rules are anymore. I really don't. Like, where does hydration end? I don't know how to even tell, honestly. Who's hydrated here and who isn't? Okay, that one hydrated. I don't think this one will. I'm not sure though. But I'm just going to do some test ones here and we'll find out. Alright, so where would this one over here possibly go? How... Oops. If I could get that to split like that, that'd be wonderful. See, that's what I mean. The water splits better in some directions than others. I think it just naturally doesn't want to split north. Alright, these look like they are not hydrating. Are any of these gonna hydrate? Which is fine if they don't. Nope, that one did. That one did. See, I think that's gonna be cool. I think that'll be really cool if there's just different little patches where we can hydrate and some that we can't. It's getting rather dark. The nighttime approacheth. Okay. So now we're gonna go down another level here. I don't know how far this one's going to go, only to there, that's fine. Now we're gonna be approaching a new level. Nice, nice. I'm just letting this kind of develop and happen. I really want to get down to the next level. This might intersect with, I know, another one. There's a whole nother stream over here that we have to deal with. Or not have to deal with, but we have to work with. Okay. I'm gonna need to repair this shovel for Monday. Alright, and that brings us down to the basin level pretty much. Yeah, we're all the way down into the stony bit of ground. So that doesn't do a lot of hydration. It brings us down, but not a lot of hydration. So I think I'm gonna fill that one back in. I'm not happy with the results there, and that's fine. That's gonna be how I do this pretty much, is through experimentation. I want there to be no science to this, basically. This is a no science zone. All right. So goes down here. Hello, yes, I know it's dark out. It's very dark out. So what I would probably need... I think this one's gonna be easier to work with. Okay, this is enough. This is plenty. Let's call that a stopping point for the day. It's getting kind of late anyway. Spider won't be able to follow us. We'll get one last patron thanks in here for the day. Thanks to... Can I read the last one? Yes. Thanks, McDonald, for your patron support. I want to thank everybody for watching. Thanks for your support. Thanks for your constant understanding and always commenting and joining the conversations. Thanks for cracking the minds. Thanks for putting up with my terrible outros. And thanks for the fish.